There is nothing better than being a Muslim in our life. There is really nothing better than saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah. It is a peaceful life. It is a system that if we really focus on it and use it, wallahi, we will be happy in our daily life, in our worldly life, and when we meet Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, insha'Allah, we will be in Jannah. And there is no sources for our religion except two sources: the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Quran, it's a way of life, and the one that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala descend Quran on him is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and every action that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did in his life, it is not by his choice. It is by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala way of revelation to him. And then Allah said it even in Quran, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So whatever the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has done in his life, it is not just by him doing it. It's by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, revelation to him, by whispering through Jibreel to him, by reciting Quran to Jibreel unto him, by the teaching of Jibreel to the Prophet, or by a dream that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has seen in his life. So this is the two sources we really go into and use to have a good way of life as Muslims. And subhanallah, Allah brought Quran to us, and then He said to us in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, the best qasas, the best stories for us is the stories of Quran. Alif Lam Ra, Tilka Ayatul Kitab al-Mubin. And then He said, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا الكتاب. So He's talking about the Quran. It is the best story. You can talk about it. You can teach your kids with it. You can even yourself learn from it. You can teach anybody. You can talk to anyone from it and teach. So subhanallah, tonight I was reading Surah Luqman. And if you know who's Luqman, and this is just to give you the significance of our religion. It is not a religion of a specific group. It is not related to a specific people. It is the religion, if anyone wants, is the religion in his life. Luqman, he was a slave from Ethiopia. He was a person from Ethiopia. And he was very thin. But Allah Ta'ala chooses him. Because of what? Because of his sincerity to Allah. He was very sincere. So Allah Ta'ala, when He described him, He said, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. So Allah chose him to be carrying the wisdom. So Allah Ta'ala, it chooses Luqman to be carrying the wisdom. As He gave it to Dawood alayhi salam before. Allah gave Dawood alayhi salam the wisdom. And then He also gave it to Luqman alayhi salam. And when you go through Surah Luqman, it is the same start as Surah Al-Baqarah. He said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم. So he's reciting and he's talking to us, to me and you. There is nobody can put these words together and make a book as that book of Quran. Allah is challenging us. And it's challenging anyone till the day of judgment. Nobody can come up. And you have the words already. You have the lettering of the Arabic letter in your hand, but there is no way you can put a book like that, or even a letter like that. Allah is challenging the people, you cannot put anything like that in it. So, when you read it, he said, تِلْكَ آيَاتُ الْكِتَابِ الْحَكِيمِ. This is the ayat of the book which has wisdom in it. And then he comes and says, هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُحْسِنِينَ. It is a guidance for who? Not for everybody. The one they want it. If you wanted to live with Quran, then the Quran will be guiding you. But if you don't want the Quran, you cannot be guided with it. In Surah Al-Baqarah, he said, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. So when you talk about Surah Al-Baqarah, he starts with the same way, but he said, لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. But muhsinin is a higher level of taqwa. Ihsan is a higher level of taqwa. So when he talks about Luqman and his wisdom here, he will talk about ihsan. We already passed the life of taqwa. Now we are in the ihsan. What is the ihsan? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sitting like that with the Sahaba around him, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali. And a man came, he was wearing a very white cloth with a black hair. So he entered to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sat down in the front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he put his knees to the knees of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The same way we're sitting, and then he came and sit in the front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His knees was attached to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he sat very politely in the front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he started asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is Islam? And then he said, what is Iman? Islam, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, iqam as-salah, ita az-zakah, sawm Ramadan, hajj al-bayt in istata'ta. He should give him 5 pillars of Islam. And then he started asking the Prophet, what is Iman? He said, an tu'mina billahi, to believe in Allah, His Prophet, His Messenger, His books, and he started giving him. But the last thing what we need here is, what is ihsan? He's asking the Prophet. And every time he is asking the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet is replying to him, he said, ahsan, you did good, Mr. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Your answer is perfect. And then at the end of it, he said, what is ihsan? He said, ihsan, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. To worship Allah as He is seeing you. But if you don't see Allah, Allah is seeing you. And تعبد الله, to worship Allah as Allah is watching you. But if you are not seeing Allah, just feel the feeling that Allah is with you. This is the daraja of ihsan. So if you're hiding yourself in a room and you try to do something that's not right, remember Allah is with you. And it's very hard to be like living a life that somebody is watching you all the time. It is not an easy life. You have to be perfect all the time. Before you start making a step forward, you say, He's watching me. Allah is watching me. Allah is looking at every single action I'm doing. So in this case, you will be very, very slowing down in your sin. So when you try to lie sometimes, oh no, Allah is listening and He's watching me, so I'm not going to do it. So you take a step forward. The Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, the way they grow up, Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said Abu Bakr, his Iman, in one side of a scale, and the Iman of the whole nation of Muhammad, till the day of judgment in the other side, the level of Iman of Abu Bakr is more than the Iman of all the nation of Muhammad ﷺ till the day of judgment. So this is him and this is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, he used to have a small stone and put it under his tongue. So his tongue is heavy, so he cannot talk too much. You see how they practice in Islam. You see, they are not just listening to Quran and, listening to Hadith and watching the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam talking, and that's it. I mean, and then you go outside, you forget about masjid, the ibadah of Allah in the masjid after masjid, I have my own life. No, everywhere they go, they practice in Islam. Everything they do in their life is related to Islam. And this is what our religion about. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين. So Allah created us for one specific reason, is to be a worshipper of Allah. And everything we have, yes, we can enjoy life. We can drive the best cars we want. We can eat the best food. We can marry the most beautiful wife. No problem. We can have the best house we want, the biggest house you want. You can spend as much as you want money. But in the meanwhile, do not forget the one He's giving you all that. Do not let the ni'mah of Allah forget about the one He's giving you the ni'mah. لا تجعل النعمة تنسيك المنعم. Do not let your children, it is a gift from Allah. So do not let them be the reason for you to be away from doing the prayer of Allah. And wallahi, the needs of our religion is not too hard. 5 prayers a day, it's equal to 50 in ajr. Allah give us that. You pray one time, Allah gives you the reward of 10 salah. Multiply it by 10. When Allah met with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Allah about the salah, and then Allah said, I'm going to give you 50. So the Prophet ﷺ come in, and he does not have the knowledge at the time. So he saw Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. He told him, go back into Allah and ask him. He reduced it to 5 prayers, which equal in ajr to 50 prayers. 5 equal to 50. So you can take 5 minutes only. Our prayer takes 5 minutes. If you want to increase it a little bit, maybe 10 minutes. But it is something that has to be done on time. إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. A specific time. When the time of Zuhr comes, I'm going to leave everything behind, and then I'm going to make wudu right, and then I'm going to stand and pray my Zuhr prayer. Why? Because if you leave it like that, and you are very busy doing something, what happens is, من ترك شيئا لله عوضه الله خيرا منه. If you leave something for the sake of Allah, Allah will substitute you with something better. Maybe there is a difficulty on the work you're doing. You leave it. You go, you make wudu, you freshen yourself up. When you come back, Allah will open it for you. You make dua, oh Allah, open this matter for me. Allah Ta'ala will open it. And this is a blessing of our ibadat. It's opening the hearts and connecting to the one. He owns the resources of what you need. So if you are a computer science man and then you have a difficulty problem in doing some computer work, you leave it, you make wudu, you pray 2 rak'ah, you make dua to Allah, you come back. May Allah Ta'ala give you the solution for the problem. And this is what's good about our religion. And this is about إشراح الصدر. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. You can make the dua. And you come back with a fresh attitude. So inshallah we go into Surah Luqman again. And then he said, هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُحْسِنِينَ. But who's the muhsineen? See, he gives you a character of those people. You want to be from those people? There are few things you have to do. He said, number 1, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Establish prayer. Establish prayer right. You know, when you make the wudu, before you start making the wudu, you need to prepare yourself. You're going to meet who? I'm going to meet Allah Ta'ala. You're going to meet Allah. You're going to connect with Allah. You're going to stand in between the hands of Allah. So I want to clean myself right, the way the Prophet ﷺ did it. So I'm going to take my hand. I'm going to start with Bismillah. Some of us, sometimes, we go rush, finish a minute and go. We forgot Bismillah. How Allah will open for you. Bismillah is the opening. It's the opening. You want to open the door, Bismillah, Allah will open the door for you. So you do not start with Bismillah. There is a shortage there. So Bismillah, you have some tranquility there. When you are sitting and making wudu, Allah will bring you a tint of light on you. You talk to somebody, the tint will be cut it a little bit. You disconnect yourself with Allah, you don't make dua during the wudu, and you think about your business, the light will be shortage and shortage till a time that your wudu is not lightening anymore. Your wudu is like darkening. So, no, we need to start doing the wudu the right way. You go there, you sit, you take the water before you start, Bismillah, and then you start making the wudu, and you let the water go in between the fingers, you cover everything, and then 3 times, and then you make takhleed. This is called takhleed. So the water, make sure your fingers is not too long. You need to shorten it because what's inside here is dirt, and shaitan will be sitting in this area. So he will prevent you from making the dua and messing up with your prayer. And sometimes you might have something is not clean in between. So make sure it is in the leg, in the hand, it's cleaned and clean cut on it. Make it short a little bit so you don't have to have a problem with it. You make the wudu, and then you start making the dua. Allahumma firli dhanbi wa sa'li fi dari wa barik li fi rizqi. Oh Allah, forgive my sin and make my house big. Huh? This is dua you make it. Allah wa ta'ala is answering. So every time, 5 times a day when you make wudu, Rabbi firli dhanbi wa sa'li fi dari. Oh Allah, bless my work, bless my wealth, bless my money, bless my wife, bless my kids. You're making dua like that. And inshallah, Allah will gradually, you will find something happen in your life. So when you make the salah, and you stand in between the hands of Allah ta'ala, you sing Allahu Akbar. When you do it like that, you put the whole dunya behind you, and you are thinking about Allah only. It's very strong and powerful thing you do in your life, salah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he asking for the prayer, he said to Bilal, he's making Bilal to make iqamah for salah, he said, Arihna biha ya Bilal. Oh Allah, Bilal, he's asking Bilal, oh Bilal, make us comfort with this prayer. Because when you are in prayer time, you forget about dunya. And you thinking about Allah ta'ala only. And it's very powerful. A man, he was standing, and he was a righteous person. And he was having his money and going for a trade trip, and a thief comes into him. A thief comes into him and requests his money, and he said, I'm going to kill you. And the man, he said, you don't have to kill me. Just, you wanted my money, here's my money. He said, no, I want to kill you, I want your money too. So the man, he had no options. He said, I'm requesting you for a favor. Just one favor, do it for me. He said, what do you want? He said, I want to pray 2 rak'ah. 2 rak'ah. So he stands in between the hands of Allah and made the 2 rak'ah. And he made dua to Allah. Dua, they call it dua al-istighatha. When you are really in need. When you are in a very, very hard situation. You might die at that moment. And then he starts raising his hand to Allah and say, Ya Wadood, Ya Wadood, Ya Wadood, Ya Zal Arsh al-Majid, Ya Fa'alun lima turid. And then he said, Aghithna, Aghithna. The 3rd time he made that dua, when he is in sujood, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, that dua, it's shaking the heavens. Till the angels in the 4th heaven heard that dua and comes and makes istighatha to that man. He helped that man. Akhi, sometimes we think about Allah Ta'ala powerful in a short-minded thinking. Allah Himself said it in Quran, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. We underestimate the power of Allah sometimes. Sometimes we go to every single person in the world we seek help from, and we forgot about the one He can help you really. the one He has given everybody else all means to help you. So the first thing we need to do, go to Allah first. You seek something, you're having a problem in your life, whatever you have, go first to Allah. Seek Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala help. Allah will open the doors for you. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Whoever fear Allah, whoever protect Allah limits in the earth and do what Allah wants to do and prohibit himself from what Allah prohibited us to do, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will open doors. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala soldiers, وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا who? Nobody knows the soldiers of Allah. All what you see around us, it's belongs to Allah. And this is what's coming into the surah here. This is why we say this surah is very, it's a way of life for us. To use it in a daily life. So subhanallah, when we make the salah, just do it with concentration for 5 minutes. Leave everything behind, concentrate. When you make the words of Allah, read it. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Let it go from your heart. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Think about the rahmah of Allah. If Allah has not mercy on us today, you see the heavens, who's holding it? Who's holding the heavens over us? The skies? Nobody except Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He ordered the heavens to go on the top of our head, all of us will die. So Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawm al-Din. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the day of judgment. You know? And then when you say the word, just try to think about it. Read it and try to apply it. So when you say Ar-Rahman, think about something that Allah given you. You are Ar-Rahim. He's giving you all what you have. Malik Yawm. Think about the day of judgment when you say Malik Yawm al-Din. It's the day of judgment. What's going to happen in the day of judgment? وَكُلٌّ آتِيهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا. Every single one of us will stand in between the hands of Allah. Alone. There is no house. There is no wife. There is no parents. There is no kids. No money. No kingdom. Nothing. Just every single one of us will be standing alone in between the hands of Allah, and Allah will ask every single one of us what we have done. اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. Here, read your book. Whatever you did in the worldly life, it's in the book here. Read it. And then you will be your own judge. We don't have no judge over there. You will judge your own self. كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. It's enough to be your own judge. And this is what Allah said. So subhanallah, when we read the ayat of Quran, it opens. And when you think about it and you get it from inside, and let your heart connect with your tongue. You know, do not use your tongue only in the ayat of Allah. Let the tongue talk and the heart listen, and all goes together. It will affect the whole body. And then the whole body will come in tranquility, and then you feel the difference in the prayer. The difference in between what we used to pray before and after we start thinking about Allah and the words we talk. When you say Subhanallah, what is the meaning of Subhanallah? Subhanallah, the one He created me and you. Do you know Subhanallah, the one He created this skin? And anything comes and scratches you, or fire touches you, or water cold. Think about that. Who's the one He created all this? Think about your hair, how it's been done and been put it and connected, and subhanallah, look at your eye and how it is being covered with the eyelash. Those kind of things. Inside the eyes, how many? Think about how Allah Ta'ala created me and you. When you start thinking this way, you will know who's Allah. Then when we start thinking about this, obeying Allah order, then we will be in, no, I don't want to do that. Even if I did a mistake, Allah will Rahim. I will go right away to Allah and say, oh Allah, accept me. You ask for tawbah, repentance to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So He comes here and say, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. So the status of muhsin, if you want to be muhsin, not to pray. He did not say, الَّذِينَ يُصَلُّونَ. No, He did not say like that. يُقِيمُون, establish prayer right. And then he said, وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. They give from their money. If there is a needy, who needs to give the needy? This is what comes as zakah. Here we don't have zakah system. So what we should do, you should know yourself how much money you have, what you have, and then go over 1 year on it. You have 2.5% for the sake of Allah. So if you have $1,000, 2.5% of the $1,000 goes for the sake of Allah. If you have $1 million, $25,000 goes out of it for the sake of Allah to the needy people. Some people sometimes they have 5 million. I say, I'm already spent. I spent already $20,000. No, this is not the way. Allah said, I wanted 2.5% of your money. You know, they call it إغلاء في الزكاة. Like somebody has $1 million and says, oh, I spent already 5,000. No. Allah wants $25,000 of this money to be spent on the fuqara, masakin. There are, ways to spend the money for the sake of Allah Ta'ala on zakah. And then he said, وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُقِنُونَ. He is giving us some kind of like, to believe in the unseen. To believe there is a Jannah and there is a Nar there. There is a punishment and there is a reward. So, you believe in it and you haven't seen it. Have we seen Jannah? We didn't. But we believe in it. We have assurance that it will happen. And this is a part of being a Muslim. And then he said, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. They are the ones they are being guided, and they are the ones they're going to be success in dunya and in akhirah, inshallah. And then he said, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزْوًا. He will misguide people by the ayat of Allah Ta'ala. There are some people like that. You come to him and say, Allah says this way. Oh, Allah does not mean it this way. He meant it this way. Akhi, Allah said pray. Oh, no. He said pray maybe when we can pray Maghrib and Aisha together because I'm working. No, he said pray Maghrib and time and Aisha time. No, don't give me excuse in that. So they will try to switch the words of Allah on their own ways. And it doesn't work this way. The words of Allah, it is being given to us by Jibreel alayhi salam to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So it's being taught to the Prophet by Jibreel alayhi salam. And then alayhi salam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he taught the Sahaba, and the Sahaba taught the Tabi'een. Till today, we learn from them. So we cannot have our own notation or our own explanation of the ayat of Quran. Now, inshallah, we'll go fast on this because I want to concentrate in Luqman today, which it comes to our family. And then he comes here saying, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا وَلَّا مُسْتَكْبِرًا كَأَن لَّمْ يَسْمَعْهَا كَأَنَّ فِي أُذُنَيْهِ وَقْرًا فَبَشِّرْهُ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. He's talking about that person. He is misguided and misguide people with the ayat of Quran. When he listens to the ayat of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he will just act like he did not hear it, and as his ears is being locked and he cannot hear anything. And then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, just give him the warning of the punishment in the day of judgment. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will punish that person. And then he said now, a glad tidings to whom? To the ones they are listening to the ayat of Allah and they do good for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. He said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتُ النَّعِيمِ. The ones they believed in Allah, not believing only. Belief followed with what? With action. There are some people say, I'm a believer in my heart. He doesn't pray. No, it doesn't work. You believe in your heart, but you have to follow the belief with the good deeds. Allah said, pray, you pray. And then, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. When they go in Jannah, they will stay forever. And then, وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا. The promise of Allah is true. وهو العزيز الحكيم. And then, subhanallah, look at this ayah. Wallahi, this ayah, ikhwan, wallahi, if you're thinking about it, you will know who's Allah. When you start reading this ayah and take the meaning is, you will know who's Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. He said, خلق السماوات بغير عمد ترونها وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم وبث فيها من كل دابة وأنزلنا من السماء ماء فأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم. So look at the ayah, this ayah. He's talking about who's Allah. Before he give you some kind of like about the ayat of Quran, and the ayat of Quran has hikmah on it. And Allah Ta'ala, He's the one, He put this ayat for us to use it in our life and apply it in our life. And you want to be from the people of Jannah, you want to be labeled as Muhsin, you have to establish the prayer, and then you have to give the zakah, and then you have to be, believing in the unseen and what's coming after, in the hereafter. And then He said, now He comes, if you don't believe in that, now you're going to be punished. But if you believe in that, you will be in Jannah. And then He comes and says, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. The one He created the heavens without colors. If you go outside now and open your eye and look, do you see any column is carrying this span of the heavens? I don't see it. Have you seen any crack on it? Have you seen a stone comes and hit you and hit it? In your head you are walking. This is Allah. This is Allah creation. And look, me and you, we are human beings. We do mistakes. But Allah does not do mistakes. And this is the words of Allah. He created the heavens for you with no colors. Come tomorrow and do something like that. You can't. Nobody can do it. Then there is a difference between Allah and a slave of Allah. There's a difference between me or anybody else and Allah. It's completely different. So you cannot worship a son of Allah. Allah cannot have a son. Allah does not have it. So you cannot say that. You cannot say Allah can marry like anyone else. You see that when you put that in your mind, you start thinking, who's Allah? خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. And then He said, وَأَلْقَى فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِيَ أَن تَمِيدَ بِكُمْ. He put mountains. Rawasi. Mountains is rawasi. The one they hold the earth so it does not move around. Too much, fast. So people cannot have a suitable life in this earth. So this is Allah. And then He said, وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ. He gave you everything you want in it. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ دَابٍ. He spread in it everything you need for your life. And then He said, He also descends water from the heavens to us. We can make water ourselves. We cannot make it. Allah is the one He made it for us. And Allah is the one He's provided to us. And then He is the one, when the water comes, this water will bring us planet. You can drink out of it. Our animals drink out of it. That when they drink the water and eat the food, bring us milk. So think of, and the reason for what I am saying now, it is the creation of Allah. The person does not think about the creation of Allah, he commits it. This is ayah in Quran. He said, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. So this is if Allah created for me and you to think about. إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ آيَات. It's a sign. When you go and see a beautiful tree outside, it's Allah. made it this way. Him, not me and you. When you drive a nice car, Allah gives somebody a brain to think about making this car. He cannot make it without a brain. So Allah gave him that brain to put that. You look at this, phone now. Remember the phone we used to have like that, and then now look at the phone. Allah gives that person the mind, think about making a phone that can take pictures and videos. Allah. This is Allah Ta'ala. So when you read the Quran, do not read it. Fakkar, when you make fikr of the Quran, that opens the heart and opens a way of life for you. When you start reading Quran and used to it on a daily basis, 5 minutes today, tomorrow I'm going to read 10 minutes, and then you make a special time for reading Quran. Maybe half an hour or an hour every day. You read it. Sometimes you're going to read without understanding. Sometimes we ourselves, we understand Arabic language. But it is not meaning you understand Arabic language, you can understand Quran. I'm serious, yes, I understand every single word on it, but sometimes when your mind and heart is absent when you are reading, there is no use of it. It's like you're reading a newspaper. You have to have the connection to make use of it. And this is the ayat of Quran. So inshallah we go and say, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at this beautiful ayah, comes after that ayah. Allah told you, I am the one He created this heavens. I am the one He put it like that without colors. I am the one He put the mountains for you in this earth so it does not shake, it does not move too much, so you can walk and have a normal life in it. And also give you that water on the, and then He said, هَذَا خَلْقُ اللَّهِ. This is the creation of Allah. See, the ayah, it's absolute assurance from Allah, this is mine. هذا خلق الله. And then He said, فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دوني. Just show me what others did create, except Allah تبارك وتعالى. He said, anybody can claim that I can also make a heaven like Allah? Nobody, nothing. And this is هذا خلق الله فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دونه. And then He said, now there is a statement. بل الظالمون في ضلال مبين. The people who commit aggression against Allah by disobeying Allah, they will be in a misguidance, a clear misguidance. And then now this is the ayat I want to talk about family now. Those ayat is coming now. Let's talk about my family and your family. How to talk to your son in the house when you give him advice. How to have a dialogue with your own son. It's a very powerful way of talking to a kid, or to a son, or to anybody in the life. So Allah Ta'ala now talk about Luqman. He said, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنُشْكُرْ لِلَّهِ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. So this ayah comes and say, indeed, Allah is making assurance that hikmah, it's being given to Luqman. And who's the one He's given? Allah. Nobody else. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. But when you get something from Allah, what you should do? Allah is blessing you with a beautiful son. You make shukr to Allah, shukr. He said, make shukr to Luqman. I give you the hikmah, make shukr to me. But if you make shukr, you are not making shukr to Allah. You're making shukr to yourself. Because when you make shukr to Allah, Allah will bring that back to you. Allah will reward you for making shukr to Allah. And He said, وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. But the opposite of it, He said, وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ فَإِنَّ عَذَابِي شَدِيدٌ. So make shukr to Allah. When you make shukr of one blessing, you have $1 million, you say Alhamdulillah. If you didn't say Alhamdulillah, Allah will take it away. But if you say Alhamdulillah, He give you another million. And He give you another million. Are you satisfied? Oh Allah, I'm satisfied, I'm happy. Give you another thing. And He will give you, continue giving you. And He will not stop. See, when you ask human being once, you go to your, maybe I'm going to talk to my son today. Go to my son and say, my son, bring me some water. Okay, Daddy, I'm going to go. So he goes and comes back. Hey, my son, go bring me another water. Go. And the same time, first time, oh man, I'm getting tired of you. So your son will say, I'm tired now. But when you go to Allah, and ask Allah, the more you ask Allah, the more He loves you. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. Allah, you ask Him, oh Allah give me, Allah will be loved. You know, because He wants you to be asking Him. He wants you to say, oh Allah, thank you for what You gave me. Then Allah Ta'ala loves you more. So the more you make thanks to Allah, Allah Ta'ala may give you more and more, inshallah. طيب, what Luqman said to his son, the first wasiyah of Luqman to his son. Did he tell him, my son, go make money? No, he didn't. Did Luqman told his son, oh my son, go be the best guy in the school? Be number one in the grades? He didn't. Because this is not the basic. He wants to get him the basic, and then the rest comes later. This is a basic. The basic is أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. So what is the first wasiyah of Luqman to his son? لا تشرك بالله. Number one, Tawheed. He wants Allah number one in his life. Because he knows everything around his son is belonging to Allah. All the blessing is belonging to Allah. The earth we walking on, if he loves Allah, Allah will give the order to the earth to love him, and then the earth will be mercy on him. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was walking in the streets, the stones used to say to the Prophet, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. This is the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ, when he decided, he used to make khutbah on the palm tree. You remember this? A palm tree. The palm tree, when the Prophet decided to put it on the side and use another member, they made it for him. The tree was crying because she loves the Prophet. Who made that palm tree to love the Prophet? The one he created the palm tree. So if you want your son to be loved in the earth and be rich in the earth, you should go to the resources. He should know who's the one he's given, Allah. So he said, oh my son, do not use a partner with Allah. Just be with Allah. لا تشرك بالله. Do not associate anybody with Allah in your life. This is number one. But he said, إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. يعني a person does not believe in Allah, he is no good. Allah, there is no use of him. A person does not believe in Allah, don't say to me today, this guy is better than Muhammad. No. No matter how he treats you on the street, no matter how he is very decent to you, do not tell me this guy is better than a person is making Allah is the only ilah for him in his life. This is something we have to understand. It's a basic. So when your son go outside in the street and see a brother saying La ilaha illallah, this is a basic now. This is my friend. This is the one I can trust. This is the one I can be a friend of. But if somebody is saying, no, Allah is not one and two or three, it's a doubt there. So I don't want it to be a partner. You see, the ayat of Quran is teaching you sincerely. It's giving you a way of life. He said, my son, do not use a partner with Allah. And then he comes in the second, he said, after he told him about do not use a partner with Allah, he said, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. And then he comes in that way, why Allah is telling me and you to be good to my parents? Why? He said, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ. His mother carried him. She was weak and get weak, and she got weaker and weaker. till she delivered him. So he started with the mother. So he said, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ. And then she stayed with him to breastfeeding him 2 years. And then she وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. She carried him for 2 years, babysitting and take him and put him in the chest, let him, it's a suffering. 2 years to bring him to this life as a son. This is why Allah said, second after me is the parents. Dad. And then he said, but look at the way Luqman is telling his son. Sometimes the way we talk to our kids, sometimes even the kids talking to the parents, they use in a very harsh language. But he brought to him, oh my son, he said, Ya bunayya. He did not say, do this and this and this, no. He went into his level. He put himself down in the level of the son. Sometimes I'm 50 years old, or 40 years old, or 30 years old, I have a PhD in engineering, and I'm talking to my son as he is an engineer already. I'm talking to him as he's in my level. No, he's not in your level. He's a baby. He wants to live. He wants to play. He wants to run around here. And this is not a good idea to hold the kids around. Let them play. One day, inshallah, they're going to sit in the halaq. Let them come. Let them disturb us. No problem. Do not be harsh. Because, when you leave him here and let him run around and have fun, what's going to happen? Tomorrow he's going to love to come here. When he grow up, he's growing up in the masjid. You don't be upset, even when you are praying. The Prophet ﷺ, he was praying, and he has Al-Hasan and Hussein coming, and they were sitting in his shoulder, in his back. And he stayed a long time making sujood. And the Sahaba, they told the Prophet ﷺ, something happened to him. And then later on they asked the Prophet, what happened? Why are you making a long sujood? He said, because Al-Hasan was sitting on my back. This is the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ was given khutbah in the masjid. Khutbah. And he saw Al-Hasan and Hussein coming, so he went down. Look at this, if I did it today, and I'm a khutbah masjid, and then I did something like that, people will say, this guy's crazy. He's no good. Yes, the Prophet did it. See how his mercy, this is our religion. It is not really by how much action we do, it is sincere or not. How much sincerity we have in our action. So, subhanallah, when we talk to our kids, we really want to go in their level. Think about him as 2 years old, as 3 years old, as 5 years old, 10 years old. And sometimes we have a very difficult kid to deal with. What we do is, what he loves. He wants to go and play maybe something. Or he wants to go and watch a movie. He likes it. You don't have to push him away, say, oh, this movie is no good, we don't go to movies. No, we go to movies, why not? I go to a movie and I want to listen to it, I want to see. If it's something good, I'll teach my son something out of it. If it's something bad, I'll tell my son, this isn't good. You will not be with him every time. He has to learn to protect himself. So he has to go outside and meet people. So what I do is, I found out something they love. My kids love to play basketball. So I will go to them in the basketball, and then I start talking to something I wanted specifically from them. There is something I see wrong, I put it in my notes, and I see that is something wrong. I'm not going to change it in one day, because that has been built in days and days in their mind. So when you try to stop it in one day, what's going to happen? It will harm the relationship. So it's going to be a rejection notes. And then it will be like a building a wall. Building a wall. You get one brick, and then you put the second brick, and then you start harshing with him all the time, and then one time you're going to see a wall built between you and your son. You cannot get into him. He doesn't want to see you. He doesn't want to talk to you. He's going to come to you and be nice to you in the front of you, but at the end of the day, he's not listening to what you say. Because there is a restriction. There is a wall there. So what you want to do, the same way as Sayyidina Luqman. He knows his son is very obedient son. So he brought him next to him and said, Ya bunayya. So he started giving him advice. So this is one of the signs that we should use in talking to our kids. Not to the kids only, by the way. I mean, this is a strategy. It is being, by the scholars, given to all of us. Like, this is the history of Islam. A lady, she has a son. And her husband very, very attached to that son. He loves him so much. He loves him more than anything else in his life. So that son got sick. So the man, he was going outside for a trip. So when he came back, the son died during his trip. And this has happened in the time of Muslims Ummah. It's not something, it's a history of our religion. And this is the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the man went in the trip. His son during that trip got sick. He died. So look at the wise woman, what she did. I'm serious, and this is something, I mean, when you read that story and you listen to it, it is not something human being can do. She comes, she was preparing herself, looks very beautiful to her husband. She made a dinner for him. After they eat, he was asking about his son. How is my son is doing? He loves him. She said, he is in the best rest he can be in. He's dead. He's sick. He's in the comfort zone, that's it. And then they have the night together. And then, when he wakes up in the morning, she told him, your son, look at the way she told. Look at the way the meeting comes. Open the hearts, sit together, eat together, you know, having a comfortable life together. Wake up in the morning. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given you something. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has taken it back. What do you want to do? She told him like that. Allah is giving you a gift. Your son is a gift from Allah. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala wants his gift back. So he's taken it back. He said, Alhamdulillah, but he got very upset. he's very upset. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ complaining about his wife. And the Prophet ﷺ, he knows, Allah gave him the knowledge of sometimes the absent, the unseen. Allah gave him that ability in some issues. So Allah Ta'ala opened the thing to the Prophet ﷺ. So Prophet knows what happened in between both of them. So he was complaining to the Prophet, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Barakallahu lakuma fi laylatikuma. So Allah bless your night. So Allah Ta'ala blessed that lady and the man with the son. They called him Abdullah. And Abdullah, he has 11 kids. Subhanallah, yani. So Allah Ta'ala substitute when you say Alhamdulillah. So look at the way she approached the solution. How she treated the husband. So when I need something from somebody, I want it really in the way. I choose the right time. When I want to talk to my husband, or when I want to talk to my wife about a specific issue. If he is upset, he's coming back tired from the work. Sometimes, you know, you have the brother comes, he's very have a hard time at work, and then comes and slams the door and goes, and that's it. You know, and then the wife sometimes she gets upset with that. No, what we need to cool down. The brother, inshallah, what happened in the work, you know, it's no problem. Allah Ta'ala will help you, and then you go, you know, with tranquility to the house. The wife also, she will make the house like a Jannah for him, you know. The Prophet ﷺ description about the wife is, he said, if you look at her, she will smile in your face. If you look at her, this is a character of the believers of Allah. The sister believes in Allah and worship Allah, right? When her husband look at her, he will see something almost good in him. the way she dressed in the house, you know, the way she put her hair, the way she covered herself, the way she's always smelling good. This is a recommendation by the scholars. The sister cannot have her husband eye look at something he disliked on her. This is the way. And in the meanwhile, also, the Prophet ﷺ used to make himself, you know, looks beautiful to his wives. So it's both ways. If you don't like your wife to, you know, to look not too good, in the meanwhile, also you want to look good to your wife. If you don't want to smell your wife in a way, you need also to be smelling good to your wife. So it's the same thing you teach the kids. When they go to the school in the morning, they need to brush your teeth because there are another brother and sister sitting next to you, they're going to smell you. So you have to make sure that and teach them. And they grow up in a way that's Islamically life. So this is the way. And then he comes and says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. He talks about the second issue is the parents. So he started with Allah. Do not use a partner with Allah. Number 2, he said parents. Number 3, about parents also. Even if your parents ask you to use a partner with Allah, even if your parents ask you to use a partner with Allah, do not obey them in that matter, but you have to صاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا. Be nice to them, even if they are not believers. Even if they ask you to be non-believer, you need to be good to them till they die. And this is the second issue about the parents. Number 3, it's a teaching of Allah to Luqman, to us till the day of judgment. It tells you about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala power of knowledge. It tells you about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala power of knowledge. He said, يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأت بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. So look at the magnificent. This ayah is really very, very powerful in the meaning. Ya bunay, oh my son, if it's a small mustard seed, you know the mustard seed? Khardal, it's very, very, you can sometimes see it when it's away from your eye. If it's like that, and it's hidden inside the rock, and that rock, it's hidden anywhere in the heavens or earth, Allah knows where it is and He can get it anytime He wants. You see the magnificence of the ayah? So anything we do in our life, Allah knows it. Look at the ayah. Sometimes, we try to deceive Allah in our life. Sometimes we say a word and it didn't happen, and sometimes we lie a little bit and twist things. Allah knows it. So we don't want to be really, doing things against the will of Allah. We want to obey Allah all the time in our life. So He said that if it's a small thing, mustard seed, mustard seed, hidden in a small rock, and that rock is all over the world, anywhere in the heavens or the seas, or the earth, Allah Ta'ala can bring it anytime He wants. So He's teaching His son, do not play with Allah. Very straightforward. My son, do not play with Allah. Allah knows what you're going to do. طيب, if you commit a sin, then you ask Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness. If shaitan comes and play with my mind, and let me do something wrong, inshallah I'm going to go and ask Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness. And then he comes and said, after teaching him the lesson of the knowledge of Allah, he came and said, يا بني أقم الصلاة يا يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. He said, يا بني أقم الصلاة. See, he started with the salah in the first beginning of the ayah to tell you al-muhsinin, the people of ihsan, they are the ones they establish salah. Now he's talking to his son, he wants him to be a muhsin. So he said, يا بني أقم الصلاة. Did he stop in salah only? No. وأمر بالمعروف. If you see somebody is doing bad, ask him, to stop. If you see somebody is doing good, help him and ask him to do more good and good. But if you're going to be using that way of life, you want to advise in people, remember, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. Because this is a very important surah in Quran, Surah Al-Asr. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. When they asking people to do right things, then وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. They have to be patient. So when you're asking your son, come and pray with me Fajr prayer in the masjid, you have to be patient with him because he does not used to this life. He wants to sleep. So slowly, we have sometimes to stand in the front of his door and knock a little bit. Oh my dad, I'm tired. Brother, son, let's go, we will pray Fajr inshallah and then you can come back to me. And slowly you take him. You have to be patient. Even Allah Ta'ala talks about when you teach your son salah, he said, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَسِدْ وَاسْتَبِرْ. Yani make more than sabr on them. When you ask them to go for prayer. And then he said, when you make iqamat as-salah and order people to do good and forbid people from doing bad, you will be tested. You will be tested and then you have to have the patience on it. إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. This is what is needed for that word. And then he comes again and he said, وَلَا تُسَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ مُخْتَالٍ فَخُورٍ. It's a big lesson. He said, oh my son, do not lower yourself. Do not put yourself down to anybody. You go down to Allah only. وَلَا تُسَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. Do not say to the people, come and hit me on this cheek and then you give the other cheek. No, our religion does not allow us to do that. Our religion wants our dignity to be high. And the Prophet ﷺ advised, don't hit your son on the cheek. Because you are making humiliation to him. So when you hit the son on the cheek, it's very, I have some kids, my own sons, and I have a small son. So they hit him, they joke with him like that. I said, don't do that. Because when you do like that, you teach him to be humiliated. We don't want it to be humiliated. Allah, karramana, He make us, high. We don't want to put ourselves down. He said, do not put yourself down to anybody. When you seek something from somebody, you seek it with honor. Because Allah made us this way. The needs of you is not in the hands of somebody's hand. It's in the hands of Allah. Allah said it in Quran, رِزْقُكُمْ فِي السَّمَاءِ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. Your earn of living, your needs in the hands of Allah, in the heavens, not in the earth. So do not ask with lowering yourself. You ask with a dignity. And then he said, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Also, do not think like you are the most powerful guy in the earth, So, sometimes we walk in the earth like, we tell in the earth, be destroyed. There is nobody like me on you. So do not be having kibr. Yes, you have the dignity. You are honored person by Allah. But in the meanwhile, do not be mustakbir. Be a moderate. The way you talk, the way you walk, the way you do things, it should be in a moderate way. Allah does not love people. They are too much proud of themselves. You see? Then he said, وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشِّكِ. He's teaching them everything in this, When you walk, do not run fast, do not walk very slowly. You walk in a moderate way, وَقْصِدْ, in a middle way. You don't rush yourself in the way you walk, and you don't walk very slowly in the earth. It's a moderate way of walking. And the Prophet ﷺ, the way he used to walk, he walks in a moderate way and put his chin down like that. So the way, and try this way you walk sometimes, you will find yourself walking easily. You are not very tired, and you can walk a lot. I tried this in Hajj. So when you walk in Hajj, when you have a tight clothes on you and you have no slippers sometimes on the step, so you walk and you push yourself this way. So you are not, you're reserving your energy, and your body is helping you to walk forward. And this is the walk of the Prophet ﷺ. You read about it, inshallah, look at the way the Prophet ﷺ walked, and you try yourself to walk like him, you will find yourself moving easily without having a hard time to walk. And then he said, وَغْضُبْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. When you talk in the way that people can hear you. So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, when we talk, you cannot whisper to people, so people cannot hear you, and then every 5 minutes say, I can't hear you, talk loud, Or do not raise your voice in a way that you harm the ears of others. وَغْضُبْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. And he gave an example. Your voice, when it's raised, it's not going to be more than the voice of the donkey. The donkey can make a loud voice than you and me and anybody else. And this is a teaching of a wisdom person. That Allah Ta'ala, a wise person, that Allah Ta'ala give him the wisdom. And then the ayat comes later on, Alam Taraw anna Allah is talk about Allah Ta'ala. But let's, inshallah, conclude on those ayat. We start with Luqman alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala give him the wisdom, and he wants to transfer the wisdom to his son. So he brought his son very close to him, talked to him in a decent way. He said, Ya Bunayya, start talking to him as my son. He did not use a harsh word, or he did not order him. He said, Ya Bunayya, I'm just giving you advice. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't want to take it, it's up to you. But this is the best advice I'm giving you. Ya Bunayya, la tushrik billah. So number one, he taught him the Tawheed, to believe in Allah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. And this is the Muftahul Jannah. You want to enter Jannah, you have to have this Muftah. Without it, you cannot enter Jannah. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If you don't have the key to enter Jannah, the Muftah, La ilaha illallah, من قال لا إله إلا الله دخل الجنة. La ilaha illallah. So do not underestimate anybody is saying La ilaha illallah. Sometimes you see somebody is doing ma'asiyah, or committing a ma'asiyah, or drinking wine, or doing something bad. Do not say that person is bad. As long as he's saying La ilaha illallah, one day inshallah, advise him. Give him the advice. So La ilaha illallah is the key of Jannah. So this is number one advice. And number two advice, he said about the parents. Treat your parents right. They are the ones who struggled for years to bring you into this life. And number three, he gave him the advice of muraqabatillah. To use Allah as his raqib. Allah is the one who is watching over his deeds. This is number three. About the sakhra, the mustard seed is the rock. It's, yes, you have to know that Allah is watching over your action and your deed every single minute of your life. And then he comes and said, Ya Bunayya, aqim as-salah. So number four, establish the prayer. And then if you see somebody is doing bad, prevent him. And the least you can say with prevention, if you can't use your hand, you can't use your tongue, at least deny it in your heart. You don't like somebody is doing something there, and you cannot prevent him from doing it. You cannot help him to get out of it. At least your heart is denying that deed. And then, أُأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. When you see somebody is not praying, brother, You are not praying. Let's pray together. You know, the way that Luqman is using, not say, you are not prayer, you are not Muslim. Who are you to take somebody, you know, you are Muslim or not Muslim? Allah knows. So the way he talks to him, brother, we are not praying, prayer is important. Or at least the minimum of it, let's make wudu. You don't have to say, let's make salah, let's make wudu together. So we can pray Zuhr. So in this way, you bring him to Amr bil Ma'ruf. But when you do that, Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar, you have to have, number 6, patience. You have to be a patient person to do that. And then he give him about he should not seek his any needs of him with lowering himself down to anybody. Seek it with honor. And then he said, do not have kibr in your life. Do not walk on the earth like nobody like you in this earth. And then number 8, he told him, waqsid fi mashi. When you walk in a moderate way. When you speak, number 9, speak in a way that people can hear you. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, do not whisper to people, do not raise your voice. And then he told him, when you raise your voice too much, then you acting like a donkey. So may Allah ta'ala inshallah open our heart. And anybody has any question about this, inshallah, I will answer. Do we have few minutes for questions? Yes.
Terima kasih. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Tarek Morsi. Thank you very much for the very beautiful speech. We'll open about 2 or 3 questions. Any questions? Ada pertanyaan Bapak-bapak, Ibu-ibu? Nobody?
Very complete.
Right.
Full understanding.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tarek, earlier on, you made this point that made me ponder. Yani after Allah, second one is always the parents, and it comes across in Quran in many ways. There's a little bit story that I heard myself. There is a kid, and this kid was adopted by a family. When she was adopted, she was about 2 years old, very young, very baby. And she grew up in this adopted family of hers until at some point she was told that she was not a kid of like blood of this family. That her parents abandoned her, or rather gave her to the hospital, and so that's how she was adopted by this grand family. And then, and in one time, this family that adopted her asked her, "I'm going to have a meeting with your mom or real family." And so they met, or they were trying to meet, and then the mom who gave birth to her originally said, "No, I'm not going to meet you, i.e. my daughter." And she was already there in the promised place to meet her. And so she was basically broken-hearted. She was disappointed. And then she made the statement, "So that's it, I'm not going to meet my own parents. As far as I'm concerned, my parents is these parents that adopted me when I was baby." So there is no indication that she was basically, have this kind of love towards her own parents. And I think it's not her fault either. But then, in the wake of what you said, after Allah, it's your parents. What is the Islamic view with respect to this condition or situation where the own parents abandoned her, and she or the parents refused to meet her, and then she herself made the statement, "That's it, as far as I'm concerned, the parents that I know is the parents that they adopted me since baby."
Alhamdulillah, this is really a very difficult question. It's not. You know, the Sunnah in the Islamic way is these families, Muslims families, all of them, or different? It's like
In our own family, yes, he is Muslim.
all of them is Muslims. The brothers is Muslim. So the Sunnah is that it happened with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's not in a rejection way. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, he was raising Zayd ibn Haritha. He was raising him. He adopted him before Allah prohibited the adoption in Islam, and he lived with him, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised him up. And it used to be the people, they used to call Zayd as the son of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the ayat came later on and said, no, this is not your son. You cannot call him as your son. So this is the ayah comes like that. And then the parents of Zayd ibn Haritha came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked Zayd to go back with them to his own country. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not object. He said the option is to Zayd. Whatever Zayd wants to do, this is a decision is going to be made by the son. So Zayd came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and talked to his parents and said, yes, you are my parents, I love you and everything, but I love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam more, and I want to stay with the Prophet. So the issue, if one of the parents objecting, it could be a good reason for this. I mean, we have to look at the whole fact, because when you ask a question like that Islamically, you have to look at the all parameters of it. They say you have to check on maybe the parents, they thinking that they cannot give their own daughter the life she has right now with this. Maybe the people they are raising here right now, they are very rich, and you see, and she doesn't want to be in the way of her life. See, sometimes parents sacrifice, you know, for their own kids, and they wanted them to have a better life than their life. So we have to really to look at but my opinion on that matter, she has to try the daughter as much as she can to make a call and attend to be in touch with them, especially if they are poor and they are in need. If she is working and she has some money, she has to come and visit and give. So there's nothing called they rejected me one time. We have to look at what is the actual reason for a parents to reject. It's not going to happen, and you yourself. And you cannot. I mean, this is your son. No matter what your son did to you, no matter, you know, your heart will be, once you see him, your heart will be a little bit leaned, and then you wanna give more and more. So we have really to look at the situation. But the sister, the lady, she has to go after her parents and then try to also ask their forgiveness. And even it doesn't matter, maybe you know. So it's very important. Maybe they try to meet with her before many times and she rejects. It could be. I mean, we have to look at the fact of why they take that decision. So inshallah, Allah Ta'ala opens the heart, but she has to try. And the parents also, somebody has to talk to them, you know, to do that, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Any other question, inshallah?
Ada pertanyaan lagi, Bapak-bapak Ibu?
I don't want to really put you too much in for me, I can sit for 3-4 hours because we used to this sitting.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. Well, as you know, we just prayed for my husband who just passed away recently, the day after the New Year's Eve. His name is Richard Phillips Brown. His Muslim name is Muhammad Richard Phillips Brown, He was a master planner. He designed the woodlands. He works with Mr. George Mitchell for 26 years before he moved to Indonesia. That's where he met me. He was buried as a Muslim, and I'm very happy about that. And he's in peace right now. And I'm going to do the 40 days praying for him, and also every week, just like what we're doing right now. My question is regarding of his religion. He converted to be a Muslim when he married me in Indonesia. At the Masjid Istiqlal, he became a Muslim, which is also my right when I buried him as a Muslim as well. But his family, of course, they're all Christian, and his daughters, and and the children, the children from the daughters. And so my question is, Richard right now has been buried in the Woodlands Forest Park Cemetery with the Muslim with the other Muslim.
Yes.
And what do you call it? The other Muslim brothers and sisters. And would that okay if their family want to visit him? Of course, they're going to visit him and pray for him. I mean, I can't tell them no, right? Because it's his family, and I also respect them. But they will stay in Christian. I mean, because they're not Muslim. I mean, is that going to be? I mean, what is the? I don't know. I never had this experience before, except now, and yeah. So what? I need to know what is the. How do you overcome of this? From this, and I want them to also know where he's buried, and they do, and they did. They came here and then they witnessed everything, and because it's their father. But of course, when they pray, they're gonna pray in a Christian, which is Father, please forgive, the thing. So, can you please explain it to me from your experience, and what should I do when I'm I'm not going to do anything. I respect them, and they respect me as well. And so, yes, can you please give me... Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
The question now is, he's a Muslim, he's buried in a Muslim cemetery, and then the kids and his family, they are Christian, and they want to visit with him and pray for him. This is not your concern. I mean, if they want to come and visit and go, and they can do whatever they want to do.
Sure. Yeah.
You should not show them like this is not the way it's supposed to. I mean, it's their religion.
No, I want story like
because
that.
Maybe one day, maybe one of the kids, he got into wants to know more about why his dad changed his religion, and he wants to be a Muslim, so
okay.
It could be really something good about Islam, then he decided this way. So my opinion is always we are here in America very minority, and there is no prophet will come to this world after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we are the caller of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we are dua to the Prophet. So every single one of us is obligation in him to teach others about Islam. So this is an opportunity for you. Maybe sometimes you invite them, sometimes in your house for a lunch, and tell them this is the way we live, this is the way we eat, this is the way we drink, and you talk about Islam. If you have a book about Islam, you can give it to them. Talk about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because see, most of the people in America, they are being misguided. And they looked at Islam as the religion of a guy. He has a big beard, he doesn't know anything about life, and he has a jalabiyya. He doesn't know how to walk, he doesn't know how to talk, he's always hitting his wife, and this is the way they know. They know about Islam. This is the people, they use camels and they drink the milk from the camels, and they doesn't know how to drive a car. I mean, now it's an opportunity for all of us to really teach these people and not to reject them. You know, sometimes they are doing wrong, but you cannot be the reason for them to be misguided. So sometimes a person, if Allah Ta'ala guide one person in this life by you, it's better for you than the whole world. يعني أن يهدي الله بك رجلا خيرا مما طلعت عليه الحمور النعم. يعني it's just one person to say La ilaha illallah with your behavior and your action. It's better than the earth and whatever in the earth for you. So just be nice to them. You should not prevent them. It's actually, you should be really very close to them. Maybe Allah Ta'ala will guide them. And then as far as the 40 days, 40 prayer for your husband, I haven't seen that in books. This is something we did not read about it. And there is no scholars, they said you pray for him 40 years. You see, you make dua.
Oh, I pray for him every night.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you make dua for him every night.
Right.
Sometimes you want to read Surah Yasin in his behalf, and make dua for him. But there is not. You want to also give sadaqah in his behalf. Maybe a masjid need to build something, or you give it for a school in his behalf also. This is something will come to him. So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, when a person died, إذا مات ابن آدم انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث. When the person died, all his action in life will stop. Nothing will come to him except three things. One of them, walad salih yad'u lah, a person that he is good, his son is good, and he's making dua. It could be also a good wife making dua for him. It could be a good parents is making dua for the son, or it could be a good daughter is making dua for him. So it could be a brother is making dua for his own brother. It could be also a friend. You see, so it takes a wide range of anybody loves that person and make dua, that will come into him. Sometimes you smile in somebody's face and he loves you, and then every time he remembers you, he says, "Oh Allah, forgive this man." This is something we reach. So this is amal salih. It's or a good deeds you made, or sadaqah jariyah. You make like you put $5,000 in a masjid to be built. That masjid, everybody will bring in the masjid. It will be sadaqah jariyah. He will be benefit out of it. So that is inshallah. I mean, dua, you can make dua for him anytime you want.
Yeah.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good answer. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Well, I remember the daughter said about Muslim, the only thing she knows about Muslim is that the bombing. So I said, oh my God, it's a typical American. I said, that's not what it is, So she was just like, well, the only thing I know about Muslim is that bombing thing. I'm like, oh God, So I was just like, well, Carol, I can explain to you more later on. So, I pray and I say Surah Yasin in front of her too. So I don't feel,
Just be nice to them, inshallah. And I think right now, if you know the fact is the second most growing religion in America today is Islam.
Yeah.
Muslims is not minority no more in America. Muslim became...
That's a good thing.
Yeah, we have, alhamdulillah, now we are the second religion after Christianity in America. So this is something. And meanwhile, also, alhamdulillah, there is a lot of brothers. Wallahi, we are sitting here right now, there is a lot of brothers. They are going in the street and talk about Islam to people and introducing Islam. I know there are people, they bring food in the area where is homeless and they bring the homeless and feed the homeless and they talk about it. The people, they ask them, why are you doing that? Because you are our brother in humanity, we are Muslims, we have to care about you. Things like that, this is what affects people. You can talk from here till tomorrow about something, and you act a small thing, people, they will take the action. So we need to act, and when you go to school, when you go to work with people, even if the people sometimes is harsh on you, just show them the mercy of Islam. Sometimes you're going to give a gift to somebody and say, here is a gift. Show him like, you know, he's really a good person, not a good Muslim, no, a good person. That will affect. Inshallah, Allah guide us, inshallah. Any other question, inshallah? طيب, inshallah, we'll conclude, we'll make dua together, inshallah, before we leave. Because it's important to make dua, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, 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 wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم. لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العرش الكريم. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة. ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. ونستعيذ بك من استعاذ بك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. رب اغفر وارحم واعف وتكرم وتجاوز عما تعلم، إنك تعلم ما لا نعلم، إنك أنت العليم. يا ربنا جئنا إليك في هذا المكان نرجو رحمتك ونخشى عذابك. اللهم ارحمنا فإنك بنا راحم ولا تعذبنا فأنت علينا قادر. اللهم الطف بنا يا مولانا فيما جرت به المقادير. اللهم الطف بنا يا مولانا فيما جرت به المقادير. اللهم الطف بنا يا مولانا فيما جرت به المقادير. اللهم فرج كربنا، اللهم فرج كربنا، اللهم فرج كربنا يا رب العالمين. واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين، واجعلنا من عبادك الطاهرين المطهرين يا رب العالمين. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وارزقنا الجنة مع الأبرار. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا فاغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. يا ودود يا ودود يا ودود يا ذا العرش المجيد يا فعال لما يريد يا من إذا أراد شيء أن يقول له كن فيكون. اللهم يا الله إنا نستغيث بك في هذه اللحظة. من أراد منا حاجة فاقضها له يا رب العالمين. اللهم من أراد التوبة فتب عليه يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا الله يا الله يا الله اجعلنا سعداء في بيوتنا يا رب العالمين. واصلح ذات بيننا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اصلح ذات بيننا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اصلح ذات بيننا يا رب العالمين. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خير.